anybody that's joining us on Zoom that wish to have opportunity of public comment at the beginning of our meeting, if you will please, do they have to unmute themselves, Johnny, or?
Yes.
Unmute yourself, and we'll put you on the list. Going once. Going twice. All right, we'll close the public hearing comment from anyone that's on Zoom. Have the individuals here that need to speak, have you signed up? We have the DNR guy on there, Susan or Willie or?
No, I don't think he signed in officially. He was here earlier.
Yeah.
I apologize. It's my
No,
fault,
that's
Stephen.
fine.
I should-
We're gonna put you on the first whether you signed up or not anyway, so.
There you go. I'll talk.
Hello. Is there any way I can talk? We couldn't get online there for a minute. My name is Phil
How are
Southern.
you? Who we got?
Phil Southern.
I think we know you, Mr. Southern. We'll put you down on the list.
Okay, will there be a comment section after this is over, or when will there be a comment section?
The comment is before the meeting.
Is it now?
If you want to speak to one of the commissioners or something afterwards, I'm certainly available. I don't know about the other two.
Okay, but the comment section is over now? Is that what you're saying?
No, it hasn't begun. We're just putting the list together, Mr. Southern.
Okay, thank you. Then I'll wait to make comments when you tell me I can.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. Do they need to mute themselves again?
No, I can mute and unmute them at their leisure.
Okay, however you want to do it.
Okay. Sorry.
All right, we'll call the Harrison County Commission meeting for Wednesday, August 19th to order. If you'll please rise. We'll have an invocation by Commissioner Treecoff, followed by a pledge to the flag. Patsy?
Heavenly Father, we just come to you today in thanks. I pray for all the individuals in this room right now, and all individuals that work for the Harrison County, that they may be able to serve and then return home safely to their families. In Jesus' precious name we pray.
Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first item is our public comment, and Mr. Parker?
I know we have Mr. Southern via Zoom.
Who do we have on the list, Susan?
Stephen McDaniel and Phil Southern.
Okay, Mr. McDaniel. Come on, Steve. It's a long time. Come on up.
Okay.
We're very informal. You can sit, identify yourself for the record.
Okay, I'm Steve McDaniel. I'm the director of the West Virginia Division of Natural Resources, and I'll throw in there as a lifelong resident of Harrison County. I came here today as the director of the DNR and directed by the governor's office to answer some questions about a broadband project that's going to be coming through West Virginia. West Virginia is the least wired state when it comes to broadband. Governor Justice made it a priority when he came into office, and I know just from the DNR perspective, we had very little broadband in our West Virginia state parks. If you go to them today, all but I think 2 have some sort of connectivity. So we've been working diligently to try to open West Virginia up. We have to take advantage of every opportunity that we get. And when this Zayo Corporation came to us and inquired about running a high-speed cable across the state of West Virginia from Parkersburg, I believe, to Wardensville, we got pretty excited about that. We ended up using the North Bend Rail Trail, which is, I think, 74 miles as part of a right-of-way. And just to clarify that, the state for years has worked with public utilities to grant access for electric, gas, water. If we didn't do that, it'd be so expensive trying to go through private property. A lot of people in West Virginia, because it's such a rural state, would have difficulty just getting the basic needs and services. Broadband, I mean, broadband is a utility. It's a basic need. And it's time West Virginia really made, took the steps to try to get additional broadband to the folks who don't have it. I mean, I live in Tucker County now, and I have neighbors that have never had cell service or internet. They've lived there their entire lives, 50, 60 years, and have never had any access to cell service or internet. This wire going across will allow what they call last mile providers to hook into the internet. So if you take it, it'll be 1,000 feet or thousands of feet, I'm told, on either side. So if you take 188 miles, it's over 10,000 homes that will get granted new access to internet that didn't have it before, and they will be upgraded with a higher speed internet service to additional people that already have some sort of DSL, something like that. It's really exciting. We haven't had an opportunity to get a lot of wire like this laid through West Virginia without us paying for it. So this is an opportunity, and we're really excited about it, and we hope that you all will support it as well. And I'll answer as many questions I can in regards to the state's right-of-way issues with Zayo and what they're doing for us going across the trail, because I think they're going to utilize the same trail where it ends. I think ours ends at Wolf Summit, and they're going to utilize your trail on down through Lost Creek, and then it's going to go out through. I know it ends at Wardensville, but it'll go through Barber County, Tucker County. I think it's Grant County. So if you look at a map and you draw a line, you can see the majority of it will be going through a very rural span in West Virginia. So it's going to open up a lot of access to people who it'll take years for them to get it. So it's really a great project.
Big question that I would have, what you're telling us is that particularly the underserved areas they'll spur off of that to provide them internet and telephone service?
Yeah, I'm not an internet guy, but it's my understanding the fiber, you got to have the main fiber going through the site, and that's what's going to happen. It's going to connect Ohio to Ashton, Virginia, but they'll be able to take service off of that, and they can run fiber several thousand feet on either side of it. So if you take 180 miles, let's say you go 2,500 feet, you got 1,800 square mile swath right through the middle of West Virginia that everybody falling inside that will be able to get internet. So you'll have a third-party provider come in, like a Shentel or something. That's who we use up in the mountains. That will come in and they'll get wire from the main line, and they'll run it out and provide access to businesses and residences who don't already have it.
All right, I think that answers my question, because then we'd be dealing with, let's say, Drew Pomeroy with CityNet as the third.
Yeah, they would be
Okay.
one, and yeah, probably this part of the state. I'm not sure who's up in the mountains, but there's providers all over West Virginia that
Right,
serve the area will have an opportunity to get fiber off of that.
David, questions? Steve?
No, I think, I understand what they're doing, and we're the first county that they run into, because you all agreed to go down the trail to Salem, correct?
Yeah, we'll start right there in Parkersburg. Now, there's a little bit of a distance in Wood County before you actually get to our trail, when you get to the river, because our trail is, it's a little, not much, but yes, and what they're going to do is they're going to take a vibrating plow, and they have conduit behind it, and they'll run on the edge of the trail for 74 miles, and they'll lay the conduit. They have to go under the bridges, along the bottom of the bridges, and whenever they come to a road, like in Salem, they'll bore under the road. They're doing all that. They'll have a roller. They'll come in and compact and roll that trench once it's done. It's very minimal. It's not invasive at all, and the rail trail is really the most economic way to do it, to lay this cable.
I don't have a copy of the contract in front of me, Steve, so I apologize.
No worries.
for Being, maybe not as up to date as I probably would have been having you here today. But the agreement that I saw, there was nothing in it that said that they were standing aside, that they had a 10-foot right of way, that they could decide where that 10-foot right of way was. We didn't have a say over where the 10-foot right of way was. That bothered me.
Okay.
That it wasn't spelled out left, right, middle. And it also bothered me that there were some other things in there as far as maintenance went on it. And we also don't own the trail from, where is, Charlotte, where don't we own the trail to?
From McDonald's or Wendy's to the big trestle between Lost Creek and McCourt.
And the agreement didn't spell out how that would be handled. We were gonna be agreeing to something that we don't own. There was, nowhere did it spell out that they would be taking care of getting these other areas tied in if we agreed to it. There's just some areas of concern. And I don't know who we talked to about that agreement. Nobody, to my knowledge, from this company has ever come to the commission to speak. We're not against doing it. We just want to make sure that we do it right.
I worked with the contractor that was awarded the Jennings Excavation. I believe they're out of Preston County. And we spent several days. I know my staff and I spent 2 days with them. We actually drove the trail and we went over. Now there are some areas, you know, the majority of the time they want to stay to the edge of it. It's much better for them, much easier for them to stay to the edge of it. But there are times because of the topography. But again, you remember you're creating a ditch like this. We do it all the time with culverts. They're creating a ditch, but because they're going to come back in and compact it, and our contract, I haven't seen your contract, but our contract, they have to maintain that ongoing. But for 1 year, you know, because you might get some settling or something in the ditch, but for 1 year they have to make sure that that's maintained.
Maybe our staff could supply a copy of that contract, Stephen,
Yes, we can do that.
before he leaves today.
Sure, and I'd be and again, I can't negotiate for the county. All I can
Yeah.
tell you is what we did together. But they were very, very easy to work with. You know, Chris Jennings, I've known for a long time, and he's a very reputable contractor, and he was very easy to work with. And you know, at the end of the day, we were very satisfied with what they're doing, because again, I not only answer to the governor, but I answer to our foundation and all the people who use that trail. So I got to make sure that it's put back in as good or better condition. And from our standpoint, it's probably going to be a little bit better condition, because they've agreed to clean some ditches out and do some culverting work that they have to cross, which will end up saving the state, you know, financially from not having to do that. So we were excited about getting the fiber, but we were doubly excited when we got a little bit of some work done on the trail.
Yeah, well, like I said, I think some of the issue is like we may own 100 feet and then we don't own the next 300 feet. And then we own, again, there's areas that we don't have complete control of the trail.
Well, the West Virginia Rail Authority probably is the sole
We
owner.
leased
Right?
back to them. We purchased 17 miles, 3 commissions before us,
Yeah.
and then from there, then we gave it back to the rail authority, and then we're really under control of what they say we can do and couldn't do.
Right, yeah, we had to go to them as well.
Right.
But, so whoever, the areas that you have leased, it's like me, the area I have leased, I'm responsible for. So it would be the areas in between that either the railway authority has it or someone else, maybe a
Private individual.
private individual.
Yeah.
So they would have to go back and work with them to get it. And I'm not sure how that,
In Lewis County, we had it all the way to the Lewis County line, and in hopes of reaching Stonewall. That was our intent early on. But for some reason, Lewis County property owners was able to get the property back as part of their, real estate in Lewis County from McWhorter, from the Lewis County line into Jane Little. So, I mean, that's another county and somebody
Yeah, I'm not
else's
sure.
issue.
I wish I could answer that, or Jingo.
Yeah.
I have no idea, but I do know that the Railway Authority, you know, usually gets most of those back from the railroads. There's a federal law that requires that those to be put in a railway bank, so in times of emergency, that they would be able to get those right-of-ways back.
All right, other questions, David?
No.
Patsy?
No.
Stephen, we're glad, that you come home.
Yeah, thank you, and I'm available anytime if you have any other questions. Don't hesitate to call me. Like I said, I would reach out to the contractor and talk to them. He was very easy to deal with, and I think he can probably put to ease any questions you have.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you.
All right, now for the public comment, Mr. Parker, anyone, Susan, anyone on the list?
Phil
No.
Southern.
With Mr. Southern. Mr. Southern, you can unmute yourself, please, and, you have the floor.
All right, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, very good. You know, the cost of the project of the annex is really causing me a heartburn. And I've expressed my opinion, I know that. I have to ask the question, what's the square foot of the building we're talking about constructing? How many square feet are in that building?
It's approximately 72,000 square feet.
72,000 square feet, okay. Is there a chance that anybody else can bid on that?
The
Are
bids
the
have
bids-
already been,
Okay, so the bids are close.
The
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
bids have already been received, and have they been opened?
yeah, the bids have been received and open. We're just, waiting to look at financing before we would award the bids.
Okay. I see. So bid on that, is that what you're saying?
I'm sorry you cut out, but
I'm
the
sorry.
bids,
Then the
were
question I
received.
have is, there's no way for anybody else to enter a bid on that project, is that correct?
That's correct. That was advertised, and we had pre-bid meetings earlier, and then the bids were due July the 15th. At that time, they were open and have been reviewed since then. And now we're looking at different finance options, and we'll take a look at awarding a bid probably October time period, possibly before consideration of bid award at that time.
Okay, is there going to be an audit before of the monies that have been spent for the last couple of years before the bids are let?
Yes, that's part of the process we're doing right now, working with our finance individual, our Cruise associates. I've provided them our most recent audit. The state auditor's office is working on finishing our 2018 audit. And they've been provided the financial statements, the unaudited financial statements for 2018, 2019, as well as 2020 financial reports.
And have in the deconstruction of the Kelly Pub, all permits been issued for that? The environmental permits?
Yes,
Okay. I take the building's got asbestos in it, right?
Kelly did have some asbestos. Part of that has already been abated, and the remainder will be abated.
Okay. Well, I guess I don't have any other questions because I had talked to a prime contractor in Cincinnati just for the sake of knowledge and tried to get a price on him on what he would build buildings for. He said he built the Twin Towers at Procter & Gamble's, and so he was qualified. But if the bids is closed, it's too late for that. Okay, thank you for the time. I appreciate it.
All right, Mr. Southern, thank you. All right, well, 10 o'clock, we have a public hearing, we have a hearing on the estate of Deborah Shook. This is to consider petition to resign as administrator and filed by Eric.
Yes, sir.
And, if approved, to consider appointment to the sheriff, and I'm sure the sheriff will be delighted if we do that, but, go ahead and identify yourself for the record, sir.
Yes, sir. My name's Eric Hensel. I'm the petitioner in this. And basically, what this boils down to is I don't make a habit of this. I've never asked to resign from an estate, and I'm handling several right now. But this particular estate is a little bit different than the others. Just a little bit of history. The deceased name is Deborah Lynn Shook, and she passed away December 11th of last year. There was 2 heirs to the estate. They're both her sons, Toby Shook and Michael Shook. I actually didn't get to meet Michael until several months after Miss Shook passed away, but Toby asked me to administer the estate for him. So I waited the prerequisite 31 days and then was named as the administrator on the 13th of January of this year. Where the problems came in was pretty much at the beginning. Part of handling an estate, as you know, an appraisement must be filed. And when I went out to the residence that she owned prior to her death to complete that appraisement to see if she had anything of value in the residence that needed to be put on those forms, I found out that Toby is unfortunately well known to law enforcement around here as a drug user. That's well known. When I was there at the house going through it, in plain sight, laying on the tables was drug paraphernalia, things of that nature, and I'm aware of what those look like because I used to work as a public defender and I had a lot of drug cases. Again, I wouldn't have had a problem continuing to handle the estate if that was all. However, Michael Shook, the other brother, called me in a panic and told me that several individuals had came to his house and threatened him, saying that if anything occurred with the estate or we tried to sell the house or anything of that nature, that Toby was going to come after him for it. He basically begged me not to do anything else with the estate because he didn't want, anything happening to him or his wife or loved ones. But we have an estate that's open. I don't think that I would feel comfortable continuing with this estate because of those threats. I don't know how credible they are, but they were made allegedly. And I think that if someone is going to continue to handle the estate, it should be the sheriff's department because they are law enforcement.
So at this point, you're just asking a resignation as the administrator over the estate.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Parker or Susan, I think all we have to do is, if he doesn't want to do it, is to accept his resignation, and then it'll go back out for someone to come forward to administer the estate unless we feel strong enough that maybe the sheriff, I know the sheriff's got a lot on his plate with reference to petition for estate, so.
Are there claims on this estate? I don't have it.
We have not received any claims so far,
The only
I believe.
thing to do is the settlement, correct?
Correct. But, in talking with Michael, he wants his half of the value of the house. But with Toby acting the way he is, he's afraid to do anything at all with it.
So they won't sign a final waiver?
No.
Can you do a receipts and disbursement?
I could possibly do a receipt and dispersal.
I hope you don't mind.
That's all right, Susan.
I could do a receipt and dispersal with that. Like I said, I don't believe there's any liens on the estate. The final expenses have been paid, and I don't recall getting any liens on the estate. I did advise Michael that if he wants half the value of the house, that would be a civil matter to occur after the estate. It wouldn't do good to rile Toby up too much right now. But I could do that if the commission thinks that that's the best route to go. But, again, with these threats, I just didn't want to do anything unless you all felt that it was the best thing to do is to stay on the estate.
I, as a county clerk, hate to see this have to go clear back to the beginning when all that's left
Of
to do
course.
is the final settlement.
Of course.
That's my only concern with it.
All right.
It's up to you guys.
Mr. Parker, any comments to add to this?
No, it's a matter of if you approve the petition, then the sheriff's office would need appointed to finalize and complete then whatever documentation or actions that need to be taken.
I do know with some discussion with the sheriff, and Sheriff, are you on Zoom with us?
Yes, I am.
All right, Robert, you heard what's going on here. I'd like to get your comment. I know that you and I've talked, and at one point you were talking about maybe contracting those estates out when, if we're given to you because you've got so many of them.
Yeah, well, we're trying to clear a lot of them out. We have them back many, many years, and they just end up sitting here. This particular one that we're talking about today, I've reviewed that, and my staff's reviewed it, and it appears there's nothing left to do. The heirs are Michael and Toby. The property has already been moved to them. I'm looking at the tax tickets now. They're the sole heirs. There's no other property or anything that I'm aware of. It appears that the only thing is left to do is to close it. And as I think Mr. Parker or somebody alluded to, if the two brothers want to one sell half to the other, I mean, that's a whole complete different private matter between them, would have nothing to do with the executor. I mean, as always, if a commission would appoint it to us, we would do our due diligence and close it out. But as Ms. Thomas said, it'd be a shame to start at the beginning all over again, when in my mind, the only thing left to do is close the thing out. And that really wouldn't be adversary, in my mind, again, to either party.
All right, so you don't have any objection to approve the resignation and appoint it to you, Sheriff?
Well, I wouldn't have an objection. I think that would create, we'd have to start all over again. But, I think the simple thing to do is just to ask the petitioner just to close the thing out and be done with it.
All right, Eric?
I can do that if that's what the commission thinks is the best in this particular circumstance. But with this, the way it's going, I just wanted to make you all aware of it, so that way, if anything does happen down the line, it's a public record and it's been noted. So if that's what the commission wants me to do, I'll do the final settlement.
Then let's withhold your petition to resign as administrator, and I think you can see you have the support and help of not only our county clerk, but also the sheriff in handling any of those situations. Is that correct, Robert?
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
All right. Hearing none? All right, at this point, we'll withdraw your motion to petition, and if you need to come back, you can come back.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. All right, back on the agenda, let's move up item 12 since Steve is here. Item 12 is review, discuss, consider contract for right-of-way of the Southern Rail Trail installation of fiber optic cable. All right, Mr. Parker, you want to lead in?
I know we had legal counsel review this, and they had a number of concerns. I don't have that list in front of me. Ms. Schaefer made contact and work on that. Part of that Commissioner Hinkle already reviewed was the location of the installation of the fiber optic cables in the trail itself, which is not delineated in this agreement, as well as the agreement does not specify access or a procedure for access of service from the main line. If that, the agreement is silent on that. I think legal counsel suggested, the consideration for a 20-year lease was somewhat limited. There was a $15,000 payment, and the agreement was for a 20-year period. It does not go into great detail, other than it would be reclaimed to the satisfaction of the commission. I don't know if we need a dispute resolution clause in there, or what, and, Ms. Schaefer, I don't know if you remember other items that he had concerns about.
I'm looking to see if I can find it on here.
Okay. But I do know there were some of those concerns that he had, our legal counsel had with the agreement as presented.
Did legal counsel provide a, written white paper or anything on, findings?
No, he offered that. We did not do that at that point, pending discussion. We did, Ms. Schaefer did call back and, try to make contact, with, Zayo and through, our local contacts. And, but, you know, they signed,
My first question is, do we own the 64,647 feet?
4,000? Yeah, we got 17 miles.
No, this was just for the south. This was starting from down at west end, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, but that is the 7th.
That's Milford Street to McCourt.
we own
We don't
from the
own,
cemetery down.
we don't own all the way from Milford Street to McCourt, correct?
We
No.
do,
Not all of it, no. From Milford
to
Street
the trestle,
to the cemetery, we do not own.
right.
And then from the cemetery to the trestle, we own. From the trestle to the Lewis County line, we do not own.
We gave it back, we purchased it, we gave it back to the rail authority.
So when this says to go to McCourt, we cannot say that we can give them access to McCourt.
yeah, that was one of the things we've asked them to modify in there. And they've tried once, but they need to do it again.
That's- And again, that's aerial, I don't know, underneath that big old trestle down there.
And we don't own from Milford Street to the cemetery.
No,
So this starting point that they called out, we cannot tell them if they can start there.
No, and I was even on the phone with them saying, look, from Milford Street, I mean, I went over everything with them on the phone.
In addition to the location in the rail trail property of where that would be, the agreement needs to be specified as non-exclusive, and Zayo has no right to contract or license out the right-of-way. That's reserved to the county commission. He recommends compensated per linear foot, which would be significantly above the $15,000, and a possibly lower term with an option of right of first refusal, or year to year, whatever the case may be. What depth it'll be buried, and protections associated with that. Who the fiber, will serve, what's the purpose, and the tie-ins, how will that occur, to be delineated in the contract. And copies of plans, mapping, files, permits, right of inspection needs to be included or attached to the agreement. And coordinating with other contractors would be the responsibility of Zayo. Talks about more stringent remediation standards need to be imposed. Insurance requirements and better indemnification need to be built into the agreement. I reviewed that. Of course, performance bonds, mechanic liens need to be addressed in the agreement. Proof of insurance, with certificate of insurance and naming the Harrison County Commission as an additional insured. Not transferable without the commission's approval. fee shifting in the event of breach by Zayo, a termination clause or abandonment, and a cleaner clause on termination, a dispute resolution needs addressed. He recommends a 1-year contract with automatic renewals, due to the public entity aspect. State lines being placed on responsibility on Zayo. Future development obligations placed on Zayo, and there was a list of 21 items there that I reviewed.
All right. Charlotte, you may want to make a copy of that, provide it to the commission if you don't mind. And, send it to Steve also.
Is this close to the agreement, Steve? Can you remember?
The agreement that they have with the state?
Yeah.
No, mine's different. I have a boilerplate. I was gonna ask, who handles the right-of-way agreements when they're renewed? 'Cause I know that you've got power company right-of-way, water line. Who handles those when those are renewed? Because normally, like, what we have is a standard contract with the state. We can do thousands of them a month, renewals. And it's sort of like those boilerplate language, is exactly what the attorneys asked for. Most of ours are for at least 10 years. Utility companies don't like to come back and renew those, but most of ours are at least for 10 years. But I'm sure you have dozens that already crossed that rail trail that come up for renewal, and you probably already have a template that you're comfortable with. And that's what we did. We utilized our current template that we use for power companies, gas line companies. We sent that to Zayo, and that's what we negotiated on.
Yeah.
I don't know if we have that many right-of-ways crossed, but it's been.
The only ones that we have wanting to cross is like pipelines, gas lines. And you get that from the State Rail Authority, and then we modify it.
Okay, so do you have one of those?
Yeah.
Okay, that, a lot of those already have a lot of the language that your attorneys asked for. And again, this is just what I did is I took mine and I sent it to Zayo, or my office took ours and sent it to Zayo, and we negotiated off that because it had a lot of those protections in it. But we normally do it, I believe it's a 10-year renewal, and it's renewed every 10 years. Ours is like $1 consideration because they're public utilities. Pipelines are a little different. Pipelines really, especially big pipelines, they aren't servicing the community, they're servicing the private interest. This fiber is a little bit, we're looking at it as a public utility, it's servicing, I think, over 10,000 homes across the state, so we utilize it as public, we use our public utility type right-of-way contracts.
All right. Other questions, David, or where you want to go with it?
Well, I think, Mr. McDaniel helped, enlighten us on what we need to look at, and, get a copy of either their right-of-way agreements or something that, we've used and work off of that and get this agreement that we received, because it's pretty open. I just, I think we have to table it. I don't think there's an issue with this commission about granting permission for this. It's just making sure we grant the right permission. But it doesn't get the three of us in trouble or get the county something that they don't want to live with down the road.
One thing, Commissioner Hinkle, I can offer you today, I can give you my contact information, whoever's handling the contract negotiations through the county, I'd be happy to let them work with my Land and Streams office.
Mm-hmm.
I have young ladies who do this every day, and we'd love to share information. We can show you how we handle it, what we're doing, if that helps speed up the process.
That would help.
That'd be great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other, do you have a card that you can give him?
I'll get mine.
Patsy, any questions or comments?
I'm not sure what's happening right now. We're gonna table it.
We're going on record that we are in support, in favor of it, and just working out the details in order to make it happen.
Well, I appreciate that, and I will vote no to table it simply for the fact, David, you asked this question 3 meetings ago. The fact that you're being schooled today, instead of over the course of 3 weeks is ridiculous. These questions you've asked today are legitimate. We've had 3 weeks to get these answers. We're not gonna hold up people because we're inefficient, and you had something 21 days ago that we still don't have, or not prepared for.
I think, staff will tell you that they have tried to talk with this company, and they have not returned calls.
We've tried to make contact. We worked off the agreements, made suggestions to the agreement that they were not receptive to. So they went back to the original agreement and signed it and sent it to us. Since that time, we've tried to make contact, with Zayo and have not been successful in getting information back from them.
Stephen is on the clock 24 hours a day, 365 days. We could have reached out to him. We had to have a copy of the agreement. We could have went over it.
I didn't have Mr. McDaniel's contact information.
It's on the state website. Now, we're studying right now when we should have already been in school. So, you guys want to table it, fine. I'll vote no. We're not prepared. We've had adequate time to be prepared, and it's as simple as that. Now, we weren't prepared once, and I understood. But we're holding up a state project that's going how many miles, Mr. McDaniel? 188. And our miles are what's going to hold up a project that's tens of thousands of dollars, providing a service to the state of West Virginia that we lag behind 49 other states in. Yes or no?
West Virginia is the least wired state in the country.
Period. So, make the motion and let's go.
Well, the other thing, Patsy, is, we could make the
Well, you
motion.
make the motion on this agreement that passes.
No, that's not the
Well-
question. We're not gonna turn it on me. I'm simply saying, David, you did your job effectively 3 weeks ago, and 3 weeks later, you still don't have one answer to one question you asked. Yes,
But that's not because of staff, it's because nobody's gotten back with staff.
I didn't say it was because of that. I'm simply saying that the DNR works for us, they work for the state of West Virginia, and they have a copy of the agreement that has been signed throughout the whole state of West Virginia, and yet here we are holding up a major project that benefits 1.8 million people in West Virginia.
So what
The
you,
DNR does, I'm not sure I understand what your point is.
The point is we should be ready.
may I ask, I'm assuming from Wood County, we have agreement already from Wood County, Ritchie County, Doddridge County,
Not by
Tarrant
county,
where?
not by county, by state.
So the state's got all that
Yes, sir.
and have approved that.
Yeah, we gave them one right away for our section, 74 miles, and it ends
So,
where your sections go.
so those counties do not own the North Bend
No, they do not.
Trail, so,
State Railway Authority owns it, and we lease it from
so they gave the right of way.
the DNR did, we have
Yeah.
the master lease.
So,
Make a motion to donate all our rail trails to the state then and be out of it.
hey,
I'm not laughing at you.
Huh?
There's a little more, there's a little bit more entailed to that. I certainly couldn't accept it.
Cause I'm still not sure how you're gonna get to West Milford Street.
Let me ask you something, David.
How do they get to Milford Street?
Is that our responsibility or is it theirs?
property.
Part of that rail belongs to Harrison County, does it not, once it leaves Salem?
But we can only approve what's ours. We can't worry about what we don't have.
no, we don't own Wolf Summit.
Right.
We don't own, so that gap from where the state is finished somewhere in Salem, to, Wendy's or whatever the turnaround is there. at
We
the-
do not own.
We don't own.
We've been trying to get that for years and have not been successful.
They want $100,000 for that little 2 or 3 miles of right of way going up through there. And I do know that they also did something with the, PSD from down there to put sewer or water, in that section, and they had to buy that, to put that in, but we don't own that, and then we don't own that little piece from Wendy's to the cemetery, and then from there to McWhorter or to the, Trussell, we own.
That has all been communicated to Zayo numerous times.
So if we approve this agreement, we're approving something we don't even own. Right? Steve, help us out of this. I like David's idea. Let's give you guys the entire rails to trails that we have, and, the state's got it.
That's way above my pay grade.
Oh.
No, again, I came here today to discuss what the state did with the property that we own and manage, which is 74 miles.
Right.
Obviously, if you don't own, if you don't leave
We don't own the
entire
connector.
trail, they're probably, they owe, the company's gonna probably have to work that out.
We can, have an agreement ready for next week on what we own, that's no problem. We can have an agreement working off of, a template of, the DNR template, as well as our template, as well as recommendations from legal counsel. It's no problem putting an agreement together. The problem so far has been getting Zayo to agree to that. But we can put that on next week's agenda and ask them to be present.
That's it.
Yeah, sure.
Steve?
So, and my staff will reach out today to Charlotte, and we'll give you all the information, all the help that we can give you, and I'm available. I don't know if everyone has my phone numbers, you can call me if you have any questions. I was involved in negotiations as well, and,
They're out of where, Colorado? Denver?
yeah, I believe they'll call.
Yeah. If you have any influence to, have their person of contact to get in touch with us so that we might be able to, go over some of this.
They will get a call from me when I leave here.
All right. All right, so why don't you guys make a motion, either to agree to the agreement or to table it?
I shouldn't wait till next week, Ron.
Do what?
I shouldn't wait till next week.
All right, we're going to redirect this item for next week's agenda with all the stuff that we need for intent to improve what we own. Then that, even though we approve that, that would have to be sent to the company, right? And they'd have to,
It would have to be.
it would be in there, it would be up to them to then negotiate back further any issues they had, right?
Correct.
Is your office allowed to go back and forth with them and negotiate the terms of the agreement before you?
Yeah, we don't have any problem with that.
And then they bring the
Then
final
you can
agreement.
approve it, if they come up with something that they're, you can approve it next week,
Yeah.
they get it all worked out.
We've already been given that authorization previously, and that's what we've been trying to do.
Well, we'll certainly help you any way that we can.
We want it to work. I think their issues is gonna be the connector on properties that you all don't own and we don't own. Wait till they have to deal with CSX. All right, so we have a motion from Patsy to, reconsider this at next meeting.
I'd like to make a motion also.
All right, let's go on Patsy's. All in favor of Patsy's motion to bring it back up next week? Ready for final? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, David, you got it.
Motion that, the commission supports this project and understands the importance to the state of West Virginia, and we will work diligently to make sure that it happens.
That sounds good. Put it on the record. Any further discussion, comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Do we need that in form of resolution or anything,
No,
Parker?
not at this
Just
time.
so that we can get the feedback, to DNR and to, the governor's office. We're not opposed to it at all. All right?
Thank you.
Okay, Thank you very much. Let's get on the agenda. The consent agenda, Mr. Parker, you wanted to move up, I think, items, F and G.
If you would like to discuss those, I would
We
recommend.
will move those to the end of the agenda,
All right.
which will be item 20, let's make it 23 and 24, and commissioner comments will be 25. All right, consent agenda with those being moved up to action item. New business, anything else under consent agenda?
Move approved.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, payroll change notice, we have a few here.
You need to sign the copies. Misplaced the original, sorry.
Steve's been the secretary of DNR for quite a few years now, hasn't he?
Move to approve.
All right, any discussion? Pass this through them. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Exonerations, corrected tickets, joint property application. We have a motion to approve the exonerations, corrected tickets, joint property applications. All in favor, say aye. Consolidation of land, segregation of land.
We have none.
Item 6, do we have any requests,
We do, under they're all from Unicap. One is for $37.50 for approval. The other one's for $2,231.25. And the last one's $4,287.50. And requisitions related to the TIF project requires the president's signature.
and, those funds are, generated from, the TIF projects out there and set aside for these expenses?
Correct.
All right, what's the pleasure?
Move to approve.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Item 7 is review, discuss, and consider to evaluate proposals received from banks for the financing of the design, acquisition, construction, and equipping of the General Service Administration Building, the GSA building project as it's known, through the assurance of lease revenue bonds by the Harrison County Building Commission, and to determine whether to pursue financing of the building project through private placement or public offering of such lease revenue bonds. Mr. Park.
I've been in discussion over the past week or so, at least, with Mr. Robert Steptoe with Cruz and Associates, and Thomas Amon with Steptoe and Johnson. The bank proposal request went out. Numerous banks requested information. There was no banks that came back with a proposal due to the size, potential size of the bond issue of $20 million. Many of the banks could not undertake that project on their own. Completion of the 2018 audit was a concern for one or two national banks, which we're in the process of trying to finalize the 2018 audit, hopefully by the end of the month, according to the state auditor's office. But individual banks, local banks would still be able to participate if they so desire, in a public offering, which is being pursued at this point. I've worked the past week on a due diligence report, financial report, for Mr. Steptoe and Mr. Amon. They have that information, and that's being reviewed. So they're in the process of reviewing that information for a public offering.
All right, Mr. Parker, at this time, what action needs to be taken by the commission?
No action needs to be taken by the commission at this point because there's no proposals coming back from banks for a private placement, so we're pursuing a public offering.
All right, so this is for information only, right?
Yes, sir.
Motion to that effect? Receive it for information? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Review, discuss, consider improvements, paving, and/or concrete parking lot at the extension office, maintenance garage facility. Mr. Parker?
Mr. Dale, we've completed that, project out there, and, there's a question of paving or concrete if the commission so desires. I don't know if Mr. Dale has any quotes or discussion or points to go over with the commission at this time.
Mr. Dale?
We initially, got a bid through, Lee Rager, and it was just for, 3 inches of top coat, and, we just felt better if it would, entail 2 inches of base coat and 2 inches of top coat, make it, a little stronger, and I received that bid this morning about 6:45, and it actually went from 18 something to 22,750. And that finishes that whole deal. It looks pretty good. They did a great job on the garage. It ties in great. It completes the whole process out there. We've got to do a little bit of ditching and water work, but that would make that project complete.
All right, that's, out at the extension office, right? Patsy, that's in your area out there with the, rec department. Do you have, any comments? Have you?
The aim of it, because one, it would help it to become ADA. 2, he would be able to treat it in the wintertime, because, it's crushed rock there now and gravel, and it makes it difficult. And also in talking to Greg, it would also allow his men to be able to possibly take over a little bit of part along the fence line. That way they could pull in and then back the trailer back into the doors of the garage. So when you and David brought this up, this is the winner.
All right, so is your, motion then to accept staff's recommendation?
Yeah, whatever staff says goes with this one.
David? All right. Mr. Parker, anything to add on this?
I think Mr. Dale's recommendation and my recommendation would be, to proceed with Lee Rigger's, proposal. Correct me if I'm wrong.
All right, so, that's Patsy's motion. Hearing, any further comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
That will be issued as a change order for the current project.
All right. Item, 9 is to review update on Rails to Trails program. Mr. Parker?
That request was made. I know Ms. Schaefer has been working on, and Ms. Jones also, on trying to finalize some grants and get things moving along those lines. We've looked at needed improvements on the northern trail from Northview to Spelter, and then still working from Spelter to Shinston to try and obtain a quote or an appraisal on that, because that is currently in private ownership, so we could complete that part of that. But we do have a number of items. I don't know if the commission would have specific questions or Ms. Schaefer or Ms. Jones has other information to provide on our grants that we've, have pending, awarded, or applied for.
All right, Charlotte, anything you would like to, add with reference to the, Trails project?
For the South Trail, Gina's gonna be doing a grant for the bridges, for all the truckles. And we're gonna leave it at that with a grant. For the North Trail, Mike Zeno and I went out the whole trail on the north and, marked where you need culverts, where you need blockades, where you need, fencing, where you need ditching and gravel. We just did the whole work. Just to do it, get it over with, and this is what we need to do, and to move forward on that trail.
All right, questions? Patsy, David?
Do you have a dollar amount?
It's a little over 500,000.
That's on the northern trail.
Right.
And that gets us to
Felter.
Belter,
Mhm.
all the way into town, or?
It's just, like where the glass plant is, it's Felter.
Is that contracted out?
No.
Yeah, that's an engineering estimate.
All right. All right, we have motion to accept this, for information for today. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Review update on the, GSA building. It's, General Services Annex, not administration as the federal government would have. Discussion may be an executive session if needed, construction, planning, and finance. What's the pleasure, for, transparency? Mr. Parker, what do you want to provide us?
It's what questions the commission may have at this point. That's, excuse me, the bank financing, that's the update that I have on it. Other items that we're working on, I don't know what questions the commission may have.
When's the building coming down would be mine. I'd like to see it flattened before, December.
We've done a review for that. They've abated the assessment tile, to my knowledge, that has been complete. There some asbestos around the chimney area that needs abated. We're trying to finalize a cost factor on that with the contractor on site. Building Associates is working on that. And then there's tile that was on a slab that was from other demolition. That tile needs to be abated, and working on getting a price for that. And then there was asbestos testing or review done on the where the Neely properties, the rubble and on that. Our reports have no asbestos found. Not everybody can look 8 feet down, but based on what we were able to review, then we did obtain a asbestos report from before those buildings were demoed by Mr. Neely and his contractor. I forget the name of the firm, but the individual was Mike Jenkins, was the party that did the inspection and had the abatement plan developed. And then there was attached to that report a waste disposal record where they had identified some floor tiles and some linoleum that had asbestos, and proper abatement was done along those lines. So the opinion of MSES Larry Ryan, who did the secondary or additional abatement or asbestos testing on that area, that it appears there would be no asbestos in that rubble or debris. And, Filling Associates, that's been communicated to them, and now it's just a matter of working with the contractor to get, that communicated and agreed to.
Frank, use our equipment to go deeper so we can look beyond the surface. It was filled in by the contractor that we're down the other building.
Did you hear Patsy?
Yeah, I'm not sure what kind of equipment we would have to do excavation
And dig a hole brick,
in that regard of the brick.
well, it's filled in with loose material. You could take a scoop out as deep as 8 feet. That way it's just not surface material we're checking. Because remember, one thing, should the building start and then a test come later, anything that started is considered contaminated if they find contaminant later.
We find it now, or if we find it later, we would have to abate it.
Right.
Whether, if we went out there and found it today, or if we have construction going on and it's found a month from now, 2 months from now.
So is it best then, Willie, to go ahead and dig it up right now and make sure so we don't lose money later?
Well, you're not going, in my opinion, I'm not an expert, but you're not going to be able to sample every location. You know, an asbestos sampling is based on review, and Larry Ryan and his firm, MSES, other people from his firm, walked that debris and did testing where they thought it was, you know, sufficient, and then when questions were raised, they walked that again and didn't see anything, any areas that, you know, appear to be an issue. With the report that was done from Mr. Jenkins, you know, and identifying the asbestos, you know, from the buildings before they were demoed, and then the proper documentation of that asbestos being abated.
No reason to think that
I mean, I'm not, can I say 100% certain there is not a environmental hazard there? No. Have we done our due diligence as a county? Yes.
I doubt you've done an incredible job at Pat Kelly's purchase and the demo of that. My question is on where we had the pile of rubble beside the Pat Kelly's building. As you said twice just now, he walked around and took some of the samples. We did not dig down below the surface as we can in our own house. It wouldn't cost us anything to dig down except our own manpower, and then allow the company to go ahead and check what's underneath the ground. It's filled in, and it is not unusual that occasionally a contractor will bury something that he didn't want to get rid of because that goes into his cost.
Would that have had to be,
If that happened, there's criminal charges that can be levied against.
It's a felony, really.
It is, yes, it's a felony.
So what I'm asking
And the
is
DEP tracks that.
to take one scoop or 2 scoops with our equipment, is it worth it?
We can do that, yeah, whatever the commission so desires, we can do that, that's not a problem. It's just a matter of getting it done and tested and getting it back, so we're not delaying the project. The current contractor's already filed a time delay on this claim.
when the Neely buildings came down, they had to get a permit, and the city of they were under the auspice of the city of Clarksburg.
Yes,
All these questions would have also arisen at that time, and a requirement to certify that any asbestos or any hazardous would have been validated by some document in which the city of Clarksburg would have done, and to allow the building to be raised.
in our discussion with the code enforcement officials with the city of Clarksburg, Ms. Schaefer was the point of contact on that. And she can correct me if I'm wrong, but in our discussion, they advised that the city of Clarksburg would not have issued a demolition permit without the asbestos being abated and properly disposed of.
Right.
Was their communication to us.
So I'm assuming there'd be something in the record.
They do not have they didn't have a copy of the asbestos report, that's why we went to Mr. Jenkins to receive that.
Let me ask you this, Mr. President, can you have someone bring me the phase 1, phase 2, or phase 3 report then?
Okay, you want what, Patsy?
There's no phase 1, 2, or 3 being done on that property.
So once again, what does it hurt us to scoop out and check the lower surface?
That's fine, that's motion.
Other than a delay and possible claim from the current contractor for a time delay.
So is that the same contractor on our Zoom call 2 weeks ago said he's never had a project moving so prematurely?
I haven't, I don't know, I wasn't at the first project
What he
meeting.
said when you were out there. He said prematurely.
They didn't feel that way when they bid the project.
No, that didn't.
I'm telling you, they feel that way now that their equipment is sitting on it.
I think those are called change orders, and that $15 million is probably gonna go up and up.
Well, let's go ahead and discuss then what the agenda item is then, Ron, please.
All right,
Our agenda item is discuss the planning and financing of the project, and out in the open, I want to make it clear though. I got concerned when I wanted to move some money from planning over into a line item. And our budget was going to be compensating $1 million shortfall with what was going to be left over from our constitutional officers' budget of 2019 to 2020. So when I went to the financial statement, Mr. President, I found out at the end of June, our expenditures were $2,358,000, and our collections were $1,064,000 for a shortfall of $1.29 million. At the end of May, our expenditures that we paid out $1.7 million. Our intake was $668,000 for a shortfall of $1.1 million. Our monthly end on April, now I know this is during the pandemic, our expenditures were $2.1 million. Our collections were $1,006,000 for a shortfall of $1.1 million. For a total over that quarter, a shortfall of revenue to spending was $3.5 million for that quarter. So I thought, well, maybe it was just the pandemic. So I went back, clear back as far as January 2020, financial statement for any month. Expenditures, $2.3 million. Money collected, $920,000 for a shortfall of $1.34 million. My motion today is going to be that we put this project on hold until we see what the unknown is. Because we are bleeding money right now. We are spending far more money than we're bringing in on paper. Yes, we're not going to always have months like that, but I can figure out right now on paper, in the last 6 months of our budget last year for 2019, we had 4 out of 6 months that we spent more than $1 million than we brought in. We can't afford this building.
I have that information available for the general county fund by month, by fiscal year for the past 10 years or so.
Well, and I understand what you're saying, Mr. Parker, and I agree with you. And you have allocated $1.9 million within the budget. However, the end of the year's budget last year, your projections for revenue, 21 of your line items fell short for your projections. From taxes, clear down to trailer permits.
I'd have to look and see, this is the first time hearing about it.
Well, it's your report, sir.
I understand, but this is the first time hearing about it.
Oh, let me continue. The projections for expenditures, 28 line items went over budget. So between 21 line items that didn't left as much as it was supposed to, 28 line items that spent more than it was, I continue to keep diving into this. Last year, at the end of the year, we had a shortfall of $1.3 million, to which you adjusted and corrected and made our budget balance. This year, at the end of the year, our shortfall is $2.7 million that you'll be able to correct and balance. Money is being brought from Paul to pay Peter, and the reason I know that is in 2017, your general county had $10,600,000. Now it has $6,300,000 for, which means we've spent $4.2 million. That's all accounted for because of the brand new 911 center, which we needed, but does not generate any revenue for us. We will never be able to get that money back. So I continue to go on. And I realize that right now we have projects right now that are gonna generate revenue for us. Like the $5 million we plan to give the airport, which we know changes North Central West Virginia forever. It's gonna generate revenue, it's gonna allow people to work here, it's gonna allow people to send their children here to school, it's gonna allow water, sewer, gas, electric, all the growth throughout the region. It's gonna allow fiber optic cable to continue to grow throughout the region. And the bottom line is, right now, it's not the problem that we spent the money on the 911 center. The problem is over the past 4 years, you haven't replenished it. As a matter of fact, not only did we not replenish it, we moved $730,000 in January from the excess levy fund over to the fund that paid for that. We are still paying for the 911 building, and we're up to $4.7 million, on our way to $5 million, with no revenue coming in from that, never will, never can. And my point is, over the past 90 days, we all three have signed for $14,000 for antennas, another $10,000 for an HVAC system that was inadequate for the building. We can't afford another project that doesn't generate revenue for us, like the project at the airport. Even the Roseburg Trails generates revenue because people visit here, and when they visit here, they spend money. My motion is to hold off on that until we see what the unknown is. We're moving money around like crazy because we're not building any money back up. Quite frankly, we're spending more money than we're taking in at this time.
All right, so we have a motion to,
Put the project on hold.
put the project on hold. So that means the contracts and all that. Discussion. Mr. Hinkle?
No, I don't, see the need for any discussion. It's been determined by Commissioner Truecoff that, the county's been running poorly, and I wish he would have brought this stuff up, back the first of the year instead of waiting until now, but that was his prerogative.
David, the county is running incredibly well.
I said that you've made the decision, you looked it up. I don't, never remember having a conversation about any of this. Ron's had a conversation, I don't know. Mr. Parker's not brought any of this to my attention, nor have you. So, sure, let's just go ahead. I'd like to throw in that we don't spend the $22,000 for the paving and pull back on everything and make a freeze for the county then.
As it relates to the 911 center, is that,
We're in that dire financial straits, we should freeze all spending.
construction was just over $4 million. And that was financed not from the general county fund, that was financed from the financial stabilization fund. $730,000 gets referred to as not an expenditure for the 911 center, it's reimbursing the financial stabilization fund. So it didn't go from 4 million to 4.7. The construction cost was 4 million for the 911 center that I tracked at the end of completion. Now, that 730,000 that transferred over is an allowable expenditure under the levy call, to reimburse the construction cost.
I can only print what you give me. This is your 911 numbers.
Correct.
And in 2017, you moved money to the financial stabilization program, line item in 2017 of 1.25.
Yes, that comes from the general county fund, moving to the financial stabilization fund of 2017.
That has caused our cash to go from 10 million to 6, and it's all justified. Nobody's questioning that. I did not say that things were being ran poorly. I said we can justify money. However, I'm saying it is not picking up ground. I'm not saying we do not need to tear down the Pat Kelly's building. I'm not saying we need to freeze on spending. I'm saying right now, in a time of, and I'll just say it, uncertainty, we need not to move any further with the project as far as construction. We still have to get rid of the building. The building is a hazard. We know it's a hazard. We need to do more testing for future development, whatever that may be. As I've said, with Mr. Dale to dig up the scoop, I'm simply saying right now, we can put whatever we want line item in the budget. I can put anything I want in my checkbook, but I can't wishful think that the money's there. I have to know it's there. And right now, with our numbers on paper that we're receiving from our sheriff's department, telling us what our collections are, and we as a commissioner, what we're approving as expenditures, we are bleeding money as we speak. We know we have incredible opportunity in other projects that are going to change again, not Harrison County, but North Central West Virginia. At this time, my motion is simply to put the construction of the new annex on hold.
All right.
Well, the construction hasn't been awarded yet. That bid has not been awarded.
And there's no reason to look for finance really to afford it right now.
Well, the Cruz and Associates, that's part of their due diligence, is to look at the financial records which they've been provided. And, part of that, the bonding would be a reimbursement of the money we've spent already to the tune of approximately $2 million. That falls into that reimbursement category that can be reimbursed out of those bond proceeds. The current contract is, that funding is in the budget, and the funding is allocated for the project of $2.1 million for this fiscal year, the current fiscal year. So.
Wouldn't it be nice to send that to the airport where we know we get it back 50 times? There's jobs, and education, infrastructure.
Mr. Parker, how long would it take for the county to bank the money that Mr. Treehouse is saying that we've spent? How many years?
Off the top of my head, probably 4 years, thereabouts, 4 to 5
Year 10 million?
4 to 5 years, yes.
5 years.
The plan is now to reimburse,
Has Mr. Treehouse sat down and gone over this with you?
not the numbers that he reviewed this morning, no.
Will Mr. Treehouse answer where he got this information and who he's been working with? If he hasn't been working with staff,
David, it's in
I
the,
asked the question.
I'm trying to answer, sir. It's in the F-400. I can go print it off for you right now if you want me to. It's for everybody to see, it's public knowledge. This isn't for me to see. This is
But
for any
I
citizen.
guess what I don't understand is that you're making statements without allowing staff to defend themselves on anything that you've said. And didn't sit down and discuss it with staff or the other commissioners.
David, you waited 3 weeks for a right-of-way agreement. I'm not gonna wait for staff.
I can still be here past.
I'm not gonna wait for staff to give me what I have access to, and you have access to, Ron has access to, and quite frankly, any citizen that wants to FOIA our information, which I don't even want them to have to FOIA. I say it's an open book. We allow them to see our numbers, and I'm not gonna argue with you because there's no argument. If you wanna argue, you argue with the numbers, you're arguing with yourself. I simply stated a fact. We are spending more money than we are bringing in. And you of all people as a businessman understand we can't survive doing that. We haven't replenished 1 cent of the project at 911, which is a winner. It's a beautiful facility. We won't worry about it again for another 30 years. I'll be in Holy Cross Cemetery when we have to worry about that. I give you credit. I'm simply saying right now, we have other projects that you're heavily involved in right now that we know change North Central West Virginia, and I'm willing to change North Central West Virginia. I'm not willing to build a building that's gonna put us in super debt, but I believe with all my heart, we could remodel some other piece of property.
There we go. Now we're getting out now about other property around town. That's what I've been free to bring up.
Well, I don't have any secrets from you.
I know, because people around town tell us, all the people that you're involved with, trying to get businesses for them, courtesy of the
I
courthouse.
do love trying to bring business into Harrison County. I wish you would jump on board.
I think I've jumped on board more to bring businesses to Harrison County and can even begin to be talked about here today, but it's not filling
And I
downtown with county employees.
And I concur that you've worked very hard at the airport, and I appreciate all that you've done. And that project, we unanimously, 3 commissioners, are 100% in support
I
of.
think I work way outside the airport too, Pat. I just don't go around.
David, if I'm sorry if I can't compliment you enough.
I'm not looking for compliments. Now I know where we stand.
All right, let's act on, Patsy's motion is to
Just put it on
stop,
hold.
is to stop any activities relating to the, general service annex, that's been going on since the Bernie Fassini of 4 or 5 years ago. I mean, so, that's the motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? No. Motion fails. All right, item 11, review, discuss, and consider a job description for an administrative assistant in the Office of County Commission and a projected date of hire.
I provided a separate, copy of, proposed job description, as well as the compensation range and placing the ad and, kind of interview and hire by the end of September.
What's the pleasure of the commission?
Motion to hold off on the hire.
Okay, we have a motion to delay at this particular point. Any further discussion? Anything, David? I agree with Patsy. I think that we ought to look for other ways of assessing the need in there, Mr. Parker.
All right.
And I'm willing to sit down with you and other commissioners and openly discuss and assess the need. All right, that's the motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No.
All right. Item 13 is to review, discuss, consider authorizing bid and purchase of equipment for maintenance department. There's a cost to this.
Move to remove it from the agenda.
All right, it's not needed?
No.
All right, discussion.
Is it needed, Chris?
We have, work to do on the rail trail and, the property that we have on 279, with the brush hogging and stuff like that, and, some of the mowing and maintaining as far as looking at a tractor, but, that coupler, some of the ditching that we do, if we have our machine setting on the trail and it's, we're trying to ditch perpendicular to the ditch, is a time-consuming process. The coupler for that machine and the trenching bucket where you can parallel the ditch and remove the debris is, approximately $7,000. The tractor, you know, some of the renting of the equipment that we've done in the past has been, pretty exorbitant.
What's the cost of the tractor?
We've got 3 bids, and Kubota come in at 60.
How much?
60,000.
60,000? So 60 plus 7, so you're looking at around 70,000 for what you're asking for. My other question would be, do we have a full-time operation on Rails to Trails now? I mean, I've been here a long time, and we've never devoted this amount of stuff, and I know Patsy is certainly as supportive of it, and I'm supportive of Rails to Trails too, but if we take your maintenance guys and make it a Rails to Trails division, what about the rest of the property and buildings that you're responsible for? Where's those crews?
It is, it's taxing at times. We split
Do
up.
we need more people?
That's something that I thought about, and I want to make sure when the weather's bad that we just don't have more people than there's stuff to do when the weather's bad. So we kind of split up and pick and choose our battles between some of the grass that's excessive and the trail work. We've just completed mowing from VA to Laurel Valley, and I just got some compliments last night from the neighbor on that section of trail where they couldn't walk through it last year. But when we had to rent a machine last year, it was $10,000–$15,000 to rent that, and the mini excavator was, I think, around $60,000. So that thing has paid for itself already. With the work that we're doing today in Salem, all of the ditching, if we contracted that out, it would be far, far more expensive. So in Spelter, it's rough in Arlington and Glen Falls. I drove that. We can certainly do it. And I was gonna, try to split the staff up between the mowing duties that we have and the trail maintenance.
So the trail at Salem, though, even though we don't own it, we're working with North Bend Trail Association and DNR to help them with that particular part of the trail. So that's a courtesy professional that we're doing with them. So when you do that, you're pulling from somewhere else, so.
Yes.
All right, I'm just trying to get the full understanding of you need more people. You need another crew. You need more tools. I mean, all right, what's the pleasure? Okay, so Patsy's approving the purchase of $67,000 for maintenance equipment for the Rails Trails. Any further discussion?
Where's my motion stand on the removal from?
Removing the what? Removing the item, that's right, we need to take care of his motion first, is to, remove the item from the agenda. Patsy, any discussion? All right, all in favor of David's motion? Aye. I agree, I'd like to have more discussion, Mr. Parker, with you and your staff and with the other commissioners in the Sunshine, so that we can discuss about the totality. I mean, we're talking nickel, we're talking dollars now. We're talking expenditures and revenues coming in and where it's best to spend taxpayer dollars. So if you'll set that up, Mr. Parker.
We can do that.
All right, item 14, review, discuss, and consider authorization for administrative staff to develop proposed schedule for the adoption of zoning areas for the county. Park?
I think before we move forward with zoning, if we move forward with zoning, is, developing a schedule and authorizing myself and staff to, develop that and bring that back to the commission if that's their desire.
All right? I just want to go on the record that I'm opposed during the extent of my tenure here through December. What you guys do after December is what you do. But up until that time, my vote will continue to be no on anything dealing or considering getting close to telling people how to use their property in the unincorporated areas of these various cities that don't have zoning. I understand, but I'm living in a rural area. I don't like people telling me how I can use and do with my properties either. I understand zoning. And we had an issue a number of years ago in my area with the fair housing thing that went zero. And where the homeowners that were in the homeowners, conditions of what they could do, with their particular properties in those, developed areas went out the window when we were challenged with, what went on and what was developed in my particular area. So I just want you guys to know that. What's the pleasure of, the commission on item number 14? Staff is asking for approval.
Staff has requested to put that on the agenda, that's just for discussion of the commission.
Understand.
Staff will follow the direction of the
I
commission.
understand. Discussion. Hearing none, Mr. Parker?
Well, my only statement is,
All right, David, we're ready.
if zoning is going to be an issue for Harrison County, then I will say that if Mr. Treecost wants to see things grow in this county, be ready for it not to happen, because outside interest, when they come in, look at whether, when they buy a piece of land, whether it's zoned. I think, Mr. Watson knows of one instance that was what one company wanted. I know there's several companies that come and look at our area, and that's one of the first questions they ask our development court, is do we have zoning? Because they don't want to spend millions of dollars and have a residential neighborhood come around them. And if we're going to continue to allow that, then I would say you're probably not going to see the tax revenue that you all would like to see, because businesses don't want to invest and then turn around and be sued. Ask the ones over in the Panhandle, who've been in the fight ever since that, because they didn't have zoning.
And I agree with you, David.
And all it does is keep investment from coming in. We've had to protect the airport out of the county's pocket and out of the airport's pocket for this very reason, because we don't have zoning. And if we're gonna not go with zoning, then the county's gonna have to be ready to spend millions of dollars more, evidently, to protect businesses when they make an investment in our counties, because we can't stop other developments around. So that's all I would say about zoning, but it's a backwards move, it's not a forward move.
I don't disagree. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Parker, unless you can tell me otherwise, thank you for, putting it on the agenda.
Well, I'll just make a motion that staff be prepared to, in 2 weeks,
All right,
bring zoning and all the requirements to begin the process.
all right. So that's directing staff. Any further discussion? So that's the motion. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? No. What's your vote, Patsy, up or down? I don't care.
No.
All right. Item 15, review, discuss, consider, receive update of the approved process for revised subdivision land use ordinance. Mr. Parker.
We currently have a ordinance in place as it relates to subdivision and, associated development or land use associated with subdivisions. That has been going through an update for the past year or more, working with the Planning Commission and WVU Land Use Law Clinic. They're close to finalizing that. The Planning Commission has given their blessing on the last modifications or changes. So in the near future, not sure how long that may be, there'll be a revised or proposed subdivision land use ordinance for consideration of the required public hearings, notices, and readings for the county commission to update their current ordinance.
All right, so we need a motion to accept it as part of today's
Yeah, there's
record.
no action really required other than the part of today's record.
Okay. Hearing the motion?
I make a motion.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say.
My motion is to place subdivision on,
Is to do what?
is to place any updates or consider approval process on hold.
All right. Any further discussion?
Our
Hearing none?
Our current ordinance would continue in effect, and it
Understand,
is somewhat dated.
understand.
Okay.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, item 16 is to review, discuss, consider revised procedure for approval of purchase requisitions invoices. We're gonna sign them prior to the purchase or after
The
they're already purchased?
current procedure is either to develop quotes and some invoices for associated, that are purchased, without quotes, whether it be utility bills, et cetera, and other purchases. But there's a process, if the commission so desires, where the offices could utilize our Oz purchase order system, generate that stack of requisition invoice. They be reviewed by staff, myself or Ms. Sell, provided to the bookkeeping department to develop a edit batch before that batch was posted and posted to the financial records. The commission could receive a printout and sign that printout instead of all the individual invoices. And then maintain that signed requisition. I've reviewed that with the auditor's office. There's counties that do sign off a batch edit report or such as it relates to that. So it's a matter of what the procedure the commission would like to utilize.
All right, any opportunity of,
Can I just ask a question?
getting, the options for the county commission at one of the next, meetings as to what the revised, procedure will be?
Well, it's a matter, if you want to look at a revised procedure, we would have to modify or change when the officials and departments would submit their requisitions to the commission office for processing and develop that batch. For example, the batch that we have there today would be taken to Ms. Thomas and her staff to input a batch report, but not post that until it's approved by the commission. If the commission would have questions on invoices, that batch and the invoices would come back. If there was something that was not approved, then that can be deleted from that batch before it's posted.
All right, with all due respect, I'd like to see some sort of cheat sheet that gives us what we got and what your plans are
Okay.
for moving forward.
I just didn't develop that if there was no interest in that process.
apparently we do have
Okay.
an issue with, the current procedure, right?
I have an issue with all the current procedure on how we handle bills.
Okay, and I agree, David.
The courthouse purchases stuff after or without getting any approval on quotes. Brings them in after the fact.
David, my question is, you know, the auditor's department makes it clear that as long as your cash back exceeds your fees, say we get $100,000 cash back and our fees are $20,000, we've got $80,000 in the bank just by paying everything with the P-card. I don't know why we're missing that boat.
That's a very good, valid question.
We pay everything with it.
That's a valid
I
question.
mean, we could use 80 grand just for paying with a card, as easy as we could do anything, and I mean, I don't know why Greg has to run and get Willie's card, Gina has to run and get Willie's card, I mean, just give them a card, let Willie approve it, and go.
Should be paying invoices.
Yeah, I mean, I'm confused, I mean,
Some people won't accept the P card.
With that citizen,
Some entities will not, vendors will not accept the P card. I agree with you guys to a certain extent. And I'd like to speak to, if I may, I mean, let me make sure I understand this system that you're talking about this morning. You're gonna give the requisitions to bookkeeping. They're gonna input those in, then they approve it.
Correct.
So if they don't approve it, then they've wasted their time putting them in.
No.
Now, you don't have to delete the whole batch. You-
I understand
Yeah,
that,
you can
but
delete
still,
it.
they have wasted the time that if you don't approve the ones that they've put in.
It could be approved at a later date. We do that all the time now. You don't see every invoice.
Have we considered a whole new system, purchasing system? Have we considered looking at different software? Does this Oz request let us,
Since I got elected, I've beat my head against the wall about the way that things are done in this.
well, David, I've been wanting to get something myself, so we're in this together. Well, I think we're on the same page.
It's the most insane thing that I've ever been involved in.
I won't disagree with you.
It would require a new budgeting and accounting payroll system,
Mr. Parker,
or budgeting
Just
system,
budget, that was my next.
budgeting system.
I think what would be in our best interest is that,
Whatever you
and-
do, I'd like to do
and
included.
Susan, and we get staff together and bring us commissioners and let us understand where we're at, look at the good, bad, and the ugly, and where we need to go, and if.
Since I've been here, this system is
Right.
not worked the way it's supposed
Right.
to.
and this isn't all with any system you want, but if half of these can be paid with the P-card and we get money back for it, we're
I
still
don't think you can get half of them.
a third, a tenth, it's free money.
All right? Motion to that effect, Dave?
Yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
That was the motion.
All right. Bring us together on another one there, Willie.
All right?
Item 17 is a resolution applying for a Petco Foundation grant for animal control. Ms. Jones?
Yes, Mr. President, this is a resolution to apply for money for animal control. It will cover vaccinations. We've gotten a grant a couple times. And it's for $20,000.
Is there a match?
On this one, there is not, I don't think.
All right, so we have a motion to sign the resolution applying for a foundation grant, $20,000 for animal control. What's
I
the
will
pledge?
say that on the resolution, because originally it was going to be for 10 and we doubled it, so I've got a mistake on my
All right,
resolution. It needs to say 20 instead of 10 there in the one spot, so,
it's 20.
yeah.
All right, motion to that effect?
Motion approved.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Item 18 is a resolution authorizing the application for the Harrison County Southern Rail Trails Grant, adopting all understandings and assurances contained in said application, appointing officers of the county commission to administer said program. Ms. Jones, or whomever.
Yes, applying for a grant for $200,000 that will cover the repair of 5 bridges on the southern trail, the trestles.
All right, so we're only applying, it's an application, applying for it, for 200,000 for a number of, work projects on that southern.
There's five trestles, 5 bridges that need
All right.
major repair, some worse than others.
200,000, is there a match on that?
There is a 20% match on that.
20% match, so it's an 80-20. All right, what's the pleasure? We have approved. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Item 19 is permission to travel for a couple of animal control people to get CAEC certified. Mr. Parker? I didn't hear you, Dave.
They move to approve.
Move to approve.
Well, let me ask you, where are they going?
Yeah.
Morgantown right now is
Yeah.
the tentative date, or tentative location.
It's not an overnighter, it's just
They're going to Morgantown.
Thank you very much, Director. All right. Any other questions, Matt?
Okay.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, item 20 is to review, discuss, and consider increasing the number of vacation hour eligibility to be carried over from 80 to 144 as of December 31st of this year for non-civil service employees. This would be a one-year period only and not apply to future calendar years. My question is, why wouldn't it be considered forever and ever? Are we just doing it for a couple of employees?
We're doing it for all non-civil service employees.
We have some that, I won't even answer that question. All right, Mr. Park.
This recommendations or proposals coming forth as a result of a meeting with the constitutional officials. And this topic came up as it relates to the use of vacation hours, in particular this year as it relates to the pandemic. And people, were at home, not utilizing vacation hours possibly, would be taking additional time off or losing hours. Some still may be losing hours, even if this increase is granted. But currently, the limit is 80 hours that's adopted and approved by the commission. If the commission wants to consider this for a one-year period, the recommendation was for it to increase it to 144 hours.
That's totally due to the pandemic.
Correct.
Okay.
Non-civil service employees only. Civil service employees can carry over 240 hours currently.
Further discussion, David?
I just know that the discussions that I've been in with staff is that we have people going out of town, coming back 2 weeks that are paid, and if they go back out of town again for some personal reason or whatever, then they've already used that 2 weeks up, is that right?
Yes, they possibly could have. Currently, through the end of this year, there's 80 hours of emergency paid sick leave that's granted to all employees that can be utilized on return if they have to quarantine or seek a medical appointment to ascertain whether they have contracted the COVID virus or not, or if they have, then they can utilize those hours in lieu of their sick leave or vacation time. And as well as there's hours available if a family member or dependent, that's at 2/3 their rate of pay. And in addition, and this is through the end of the year, another type of leave that's available is amended family medical leave if they have child care issues and cannot arrange for child care. If school's closed, child care is closed, whatever the case may be, they can utilize, again, a number of hours or up to a certain limit, 2/3 of their rate of pay.
So at the end of the following year, if they haven't used those hours that we've allowed them to carry over, they disappear.
That's correct. it would drop back down to 80 hours carryover as December 31st, 2021.
If they had 86 hours December 31st carryover, they carry over 80 and they lose 9,
Yes, whatever the end of that
whatever it is.
pay periods would be, yes.
My discussion before we get into a motion is, I think they, ought to be able to bank 240 hours, just like, the feds do, and, whoever else that we have in the county that's banking, 240. So, that's my discussion. What's the pleasure of the commission? Motion to approve what, 240?
No.
Thought I got you there,
Yeah,
Patsy, yeah. All right, so, we have a motion to, approve the 144 for a 1-year standpoint, but, any discussion? Hearing none, other than I'm still in favor of 240. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? No. That's because I wanted 240. All right, item 21 is to review, discuss, and consider a request from Ron Lane Enterprise, Inc. regarding the establishment of a base assessment value for the proposed project for TIF district. Mr. Parker or planning or whoever's involved in, I'm assuming this is Ron, Chris's project up off of 50.
Eastview Development, yes.
All right.
And, Mr. Amon has been working on this and provided this information to our office. And there's a map that outlines the parcels involved in the establishment of the TIF district. And it's just moving forward with that process to determine the base assessed valuation at this point for the new district.
All right. I agree, there's a revenue source there, Patsy, of, for development, because that property was a land quarry and I don't know whatever else they did up there. So what you're trying to do is assess it at the lowest rate, is that correct? What it is?
Yes, correct.
And then it becomes TIF, and then any development comes on there, then that money will go towards whatever the different classes are and go back to pay out bonds and whatever. All right. Motion to that effect? We have a motion to approve. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye. Aye. Item 22 is to review, discuss the COVID-19 courthouse operation plan, recommended changes. Mr. Park.
In your agenda is the current plan. I sent out a revised, item last evening that it's really, minor in verbiage, but major in possibility of entering the courthouse, is asking the public the questions we have on our employee check-in form is asking those type of questions to the public as they come in, to the courthouse. And again, that's a result of discussion with the constitutional officials, this past week or so, and, recommended from that group that the public be asked that question, in addition to what we're doing right now of requiring a mask and taking the temperature. This would not be a written form required, it's just, answering those, questions in a verbal fashion, not written fashion.
All right, we have a motion, to approve. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item, 23, it's, a resignation from off of our consent agenda. Mr. Parker?
Diane Young has, sent a letter in, and her, to resign off the Public Defender's, office, Board of Directors for the 15th Judicial Circuit. effective, October the 1st.
All right, so it's to, accept the resignation, that's our appointment to that, right? We have one.
Correct.
The county commission has one appointment to that.
There may be 2 appointments to that board. I think Mr. Harris is another one of your
Okay,
appointments.
whatever, that's for public defender, right?
Correct.
So Diane Young is, a resignation, and her term is over with when?
I would need to look at that. I would
All
have
right.
to look at that. I'm not sure when her term would end.
All right, so we do have an appointment there, so it's to accept the resignation. What's the pleasure? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. All right, the next one, that we added was G, it's a letter from Joe Schaefer. He has an interest in being appointed to the Public Defender Board of Directors. What's the pleasure? We have no idea of how long the appointments are
I
or
can
what we have.
Look, if you want me to take a quick look, I can look.
Maybe the best thing is just have Joe, did he send a letter of interest?
Yes, he did.
They're interested, they didn't fill out the form request.
No, he just sent an email, and
All right,
And the
why don't,
other ladies till October 1st.
yeah, we still have time to take a look at that.
okay,
I'll find out the term of office and bring that back and have him fill out the other form also.
and Joe can fill out the appointment, request. I mean, anybody can do that.
Correct.
What's my next question? Does it have to be an attorney or can it be anybody?
I'm not sure.
Reverend
Harris is one.
Harris is on there right now. I'm not sure what Ms. Young's background is.
I think what we ought to do, David, is find out what their, bylaws call for. All right. So with Mr. Schaefer, we're just, yeah, we'll just, have him,
Okay, we can do that.
anybody else that wants to be considered, bring them on. All right.
Can we
Item,
get that in the paper?
yeah, put it in the paper. But we don't know what the requirements are, but you can put it in the paper.
We can get that information
All right,
to Joanne.
item 25 is commissioners' comments. Mr. Treecost.
Just if we agreed that it would be okay for Greg to go out there and take the scoop, and so can I be present? So when you let me know when it happens.
Did we ask, is that Greg what now?
Do you want to make sure it's environmentally safe by taking one scoop on?
Oh, what's good?
Go 8 feet rather than check the surface. It's up to you.
I mean, it doesn't
Does it matter?
matter. I'd like to see the certification. If we do and we get into it, then we're gonna be a party to the case. But right now, it's all on the shoulders of the city of Clarksburg.
Well, let me ask you this. My second thing is one I'd like to see the scoop. I would like to know if the bond, well, if you could find out if the public or private funding of the bond, if that wouldn't happen and we would break ground first before the bonds are issued, who's on the hook for that, us or the firm?
I would not recommend awarding that construction contract until the financing is in place.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Okay, what about the scoop? You guys good with that?
I thought, it was my understanding that motion failed. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, with the scoop,
Yes.
No, the motion failed to delay the building.
Okay, I thought that was all part of, I'm sorry.
with all due respect, Patsy, I would suggest that we see what the city of Clarksburg has. I'd hate like heck to get a scoop, and then we have an issue, and now we're liable for something that it's the city of Clarksburg on the Neely property.
Let me ask you, Ron, would you rather be liable now before the footer report, or would you rather be liable when there's a footer and have to tear it down because it's contaminated?
Well, we may have then some litigation against the city of Clarksburg.
Actually, it falls on the purchaser, because we should have asked for that up front. That's how it reads.
All right,
So.
I didn't read it, so.
I only know this because of Jackson Square, so. If you guys want to do the scoop, do it. If you don't, don't. I would like to do.
All right. Anything else?
So is that yes for the scoop or no?
Mine is leave it alone, but, I mean, if David wants to do it, that's fine. I'm not qualified.
I didn't say we were qualified, I said take the scoop up for the people that did the service.
Yeah.
We already have the company hired. We can just ask them, we can have Greg pull
As,
the bucket.
as those people dig the brick out, go over and check.
It's not gonna get dug out.
That brick will be removed, that demo will be removed.
And then what you're saying is then the company's gonna come in and then they're gonna sample it once the project starts? Why would we not do it before the project starts?
The project's already started, that is part of the current contract.
For them to remove it all.
Yes, that is part of the current contract that has already been awarded.
So you're saying then when they remove it, we're gonna have them test something underneath the surface?
If they find something they think's worth testing.
How will they
They're
know
not-
if they don't test it then? I'm confused, how do I know if I have corona unless I get tested? So how would we know?
I
if
guess the
soil
question is how do you know what you're looking for to test?
I don't, that's what I'm saying. How do
And the
how-
odds are they probably don't either, because it could be fiberglass insulation, it could be a million things. But they've been told it's a clean site. If they dig it up and it's not a clean site, then it falls on to the city of Clarksburg.
Okay, then can I see the report where they tested what was dug up then, please?
Sure.
I think I forwarded the 3 asbestos reports that we had.
On the surface, and I appreciate that.
We don't have any we do not have any reports of what they've done.
I'm not talking about Pat Kelly's property. I know where we crossed T's and dotted I's on that. I'm talking about the property that we purchased that we did not have our hand in, that we have no certifications for, that we have no information from Clarksburg. And yes, I believe Clarksburg, however, it would not hurt us to have Greg over there on a piece of property we own and dig up the pile that we took surface samples from and check what's underneath that may have been buried for the same contract.
The firm that we've employed has not recommended that course. They did not see the need for that course of action based on the due diligence the county has taken. Not saying we should or shouldn't do it, or not saying that there's a problem down there that nobody knows about. Even if you do an asbestos report, you do not test every tile, every caulk, I mean, there's no way. It's similar to an audit on our financial books, unless they do a forensic audit and look at every invoice, it's a sampling. Similar to that, it's a sampling based on the standards and guidelines and regulations they have to adhere to.
Does the company that we hired really have the equipment to dig down, or did they have the ability, or they just have the ability to walk around?
MSES we did not contract them to dig down.
Right.
Based on the report that Mr. Jenkins did when they did the demolition. Mr. Jenkins is one of the individuals that works with WVU and teaches the other asbestos contractors or abatement personnel on the proper procedures, how to do it, as well as MSES is recognized in West Virginia as an expert in that field and also does teaching and certifications for other firms. So of the reports we have the best of the best providing us the reports. Not saying there still could not be a problem, but we have the best of the best giving us the
We
reports.
get down in there below that basement, then the city sewage pipe could have been leaked into that property. We'll never know. And that's just as big an issue as what you're talking about. But if you wanna empty that basement out, when you get down for the footers and verify there's no contaminants in the dirt, that's the only way you're gonna know, is to dig the whole thing out. Digging a 8-foot test hole isn't gonna say anything in 10,000 square feet.
Can we get MSES's opinion on that to see if they think it's worth it to dig down?
they've already provided that last evening,
Can
yes.
we ask them if they would like to, if they think it'll be worth us to go down?
We can ask, yes.
I'm sorry, I'm so confused, you guys. All I'm asking is on the property that we purchased, can we please dig down? We know we've covered our butt on the Pat Kelly's property, because we did our due diligence here at the county. However, can we check on the property we purchased that we did not have our hand in to do our due diligence?
I'll just let you know, we've done our due diligence by the law.
We have.
Pat Kelly.
We have.
Okay. You can tear that building down tomorrow.
Go ahead.
And tomorrow, 3 weeks from now, they're shifting through it, you could find asbestos that nobody ever knew about. That's just a fact of life that you cannot, all you can do is control what you can see and know about. When they tore the other buildings down, the gentleman went in, identified, they cleaned up. When the guy tore the building down, he was told that it was an asbestos-free building. When he tore it down, he would have not looked or made an assumption that everything that went into that hole was asbestos. So we've got the same issue with every building in Hartsburg you take down. It's the reports and what you do are only good as what you can find and see. And when the building gets tore down, it's all over with. You can't get 100%. So if there's something in that hole that maybe was around the chimney and everybody missed it, I'm not saying it's not down there, but I don't think it's the issue that you're trying to make it out to be. I mean, it's hard to get 100%.
Okay.
I mean, it's like the same way tore a house down, you're trying to make sure you had all the lead removed from the inside of the house, tore it down. It's almost impossible to make sure that it's, I can tell you, it's a lead-free demolition. And it's, I think everybody has tried to do their best, digging one hole down. I mean, if they're digging the whole basement out, and if you're that worried, you can talk to the contractor, he can take every bit of the dirt that he gets out, put it in a special container, and also a special dump. And then your issue's gone. You just pretend the whole site's contaminated, pay for it, and move it. Whichever one you wanna do.
All right, any other, Patsy? David? Comment period.
Trails. I'd like to, see what kind of other historical grants out there, and I think we need to look at the historical value of some areas of the trail. Try to tie in some areas that I'm not gonna publicly say where they're at, but we've found some areas that have historical value to the county, and I think would help the rails to trails, and if we can get something started and work with the owners, I think it would be very beneficial to Harrison County and our rail trails.
Ms. Jones and Ms. Schaefer are aware of those locations and are working with them.
You're aware of
and
them?
working
Yeah.
on them, and working
And
on
I
them.
would like to set up a time where the 3 commissioners can take a ride down the, North Trail together and discuss the North Trail, hopefully within the next week or two, if that's possible, with the other 2 commissioners.
Okay. I'm in.
So Greg, I don't know, you need to set us up for a
Side by side.
Or stick a few bales of hay in a wagon and take us down through there, and we'll put our bibs on and
Back of the
let
pickup truck.
Ron feel at home, and
That's good.
maybe pick some, I don't know if Blackberry's still in.
Nope,
No.
too late.
There's Blackberry picking off.
All right, anything else, David?
That's it.
Hearing none, I have nothing. We have a motion to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
I need
We're
some
out of here.
signatures from all the commissioners and especially the president.
Did we take care of Susan's,
That's what I was
there
gonna
was
ask
some
about.
document she needed for closing out something?
Yes, Dave, the in progress, not all those files, there was another order.
Yes, that's fine.
What's on?
Okay.
Yeah, that may be down